Today's theme, a very relevant theme, is on technology, which is Technopreneurship 2020. And all the webinars that we are organizing, we're always looking at, not looking at so much in the challenges. Yes, challenges are there, but we're looking more at identifying how can these challenges be converted into opportunities. And as we all know, technology, if nothing else, is offering a lot of opportunities today. So we are looking at today's, the base theme line is turning challenges into opportunities. That's the theme on which we are having this webinar. So before we go forward and introduce the panel members and the moderator, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Sriparna Borua from the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship. And we also have with us our director, Dr. Abhijit Sharma. So I would request Dr. Abhijit Sharma to just share a few time with the audience here. Share some time with the audience here.
Thank you, Sriparna, and welcome everyone. Like she said, for a very, very important summit, particularly in the juncture where everything is getting disrupted. Normally disruption is related to technology, but here we are getting disrupted in life. But I'm sure technology can take over some of those as we go forward. IIE, Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, as the name suggests, has been always there in terms of promoting entrepreneurship. It's been now 25 years. The journey has been 25 years. We have gone through that. We have done many, many new initiatives as we have gone ahead. NERES, as Dr. Sriparna Borua stated, is a new initiative that we have started, particularly meant or targeted to a new breed of entrepreneurs who have joined this race for trying to change lives, creating wealth, and making a success stories for themselves and for the country as a whole. NERES, as I think most of us know, are looking at 8 segments. IT and ITES is one major segment that we are looking into. We are going through different processes of taking these rounds of people through different pitching. We are doing these webinars, and then of course the final round will be where we will select 20 people to be offering a grant of 5 lakh each. The idea of this is basically conceived because for the Northeast, we do not have, if I may call it, the beginning of the funnel. We have a lot of investors having seed fund, investors which have what we call as impact funds, etc. But building up the funnel, that's something that's been missing. And at IIE, we have been dealing with it, me and Sriparna particularly, and all the others have been discussing on how do we build this funnel. And of course, thanks to a large number of people who are around, some of them are now panelists here, whom we were also discussing. And we felt that there is this major gap in the Northeast region that we need to fill. NERES happens to make that as an attempt towards that. And we would like to thank actually FINA, who's collaborated with us. As you know, this is an industry body, and NEC, who have funded this entire process. Hopefully, we would take it to NERES 2, NERES 3. There are also other initiatives that we are looking at, particularly building up this funnel. And hopefully, we will see this new breed of entrepreneurs through this funnel, creating growth, creating success, and making impacts, disrupting lives probably, disrupting, and technology definitely would be one of the platforms through which we will go through. Thank you, Sriparna, for giving us this lesson. And I think I would now request you to take over, and the panelists can take over. Request you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead with the panel discussion right now. Now, before that, I would also like to, because there are many people who have logged in, that's, while as a part of NERES, we would be having a boot camp also digitally, our pitching would also happen digitally. But one more session as a part of boot camp, which we'll be making it everyone, is, what do investors look for? That's a session we are calling in impact funders, early stage seed funders, etc. So we get a sense, we actually yesterday briefed them about the ecosystem of Northeast, because we've always found that there's a lot of gap in terms of what our entrepreneur startups require and what is the venture funders, etc., what they are looking for. So we're trying to bridge that gap also. So we will be having a webinar on that too. So moving ahead, I welcome all the panel members who are here. We have with us 4 panel members, and also we requested Sanjeev Sharma to moderate on our behalf. So I would like to introduce Mr. Prabir Kumar, who is known as a known face in this field. He is the jurisdictional director, Northeast and West Bengal State Software Technology Park of India. And more than that, of course, apart from his professional experience, he has got a rich experience of even mentoring startups for more than 20 years. So we're very lucky and fortunate. I think the entire audience is fortunate to have him as one of the panel members. We welcome you, Mr. Prabir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then next, I would like to introduce Mr. Ochintya Sharma. Ochintya Sharma has about 32 years of technology and management experience in the domains of wireless communication, mobile internet, GPS, smartphone platforms, multimedia, Internet of Things, and now, of course, artificial intelligence. So apart from his corporate experience, which he has in companies like Samsung, Motorola, he has also led 2 technology startups. So I think his combination of leading startups as well as corporate will have a big sort of his experience will have a lot of value in the discussions that we go ahead with. So welcome, Ochintya, to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Shuparna. Thank you.
Then we have Mr. Anjan Pathak. Anjan Pathak is a technology leader with over 20 years of experience building and deploying cross-channel web applications. He has spent his first 17 years of his career in architecting e-commerce applications, and now he is the co-founder of Vantage Circle. Welcome, Anjan Pathak.
Thank you.
But then we also have with us Joydeep Kumar Choudhury. He works with companies like Motorola, Toshiba, Packet Video, Active Corporation in US before returning to India and starting TechnoMedia. He has been on board of multiple startups over the years, and he's a visiting faculty to numerous engineering colleges around Northeast and South India, like Trust College, NIT Shillong, Tejpur University, etc. He is the founder of TechnoMedia Software Solutions Private Limited in Bangalore. So welcome, Sir Joydeep Choudhury, on board to this
Thank
discussion.
you, madam.
And finally, our moderator for
Thank
today's
you.
session, give it to Mr. Sanjeev Sharma. Sanjeev Sharma has been actually a big help to us in putting across the entire panel as to what would be the theme. And so we heavily depended on Sanjeev right from the beginning of conceptualizing NERES. He's been our mentor to our startups. So Sanjeev Sharma is the founder, director of Webx Technologies Private Limited, a technology consulting company, and that he founded in 2001. He has over 18 years of IT experience in delivering enterprise solutions on web platforms and mobile technologies. He's on the advisory board of the Software Technology Park of India in Assam, Tripura, and Meghalaya, and also the consultant to North NF Railways for Management Information System. So I think we have the right mix of panelists and the moderator. With that, I leave the floor to Sanjeev. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you so much. Like the other webinars, actually, I just wanted to focus on one thing today. All the participants.
Sanjeev, I think your microphone is not coming. Yeah, your microphone that is.
Am I audible now?
No, I think still muffled. Coming in muffled.
Okay.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thank you all of the all of you and the participants, and I welcome everyone to the seminar. And I really hope that today whosoever have joined this will learn a lot from the so well decorated panel we have today. The first thing actually about this seminar or a webinar is we wanted to actually, but when we actually conceptualized this whole thing, the Technopreneurship to 2020, the actual thing in our mind, back of our mind was using the new technologies to enhance new business methods and venturing into new startups. That was the whole thing, the idea we had. But seeing the current scenario after this COVID-19 thing, I personally realized that there is a lot of opportunities which have been come up within this period of time. And with the other corona warriors like doctors and policemen and all other workers, uh, I am happy that IT is also one of the core part which has helped the entire group of these warriors to work behind the scene. Okay, and in this particular period, we have seen that, yeah, in this particular period, we have seen that there are a lot of startups who have pivoted into different areas just because of their uh, they are fearing that their business is going to a different slide altogether, and they are fearing that what will happen next. So my first thing would be, I am just opening up and I'm just putting this thing to the panelists today. We want to discuss on what could be the challenges which will come up after this COVID-19 to this sector, and what are the opportunities which can these entrepreneurs use as a business tool for their growth. So first I would request Mr. Ochintya Sharma, who has got a lot of experience into consulting and strategy. So I would request Mr. Sharma to give his views about the current scenario and what technology can help in the days to come, how these entrepreneurs can help.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thanks to Shriparna, IIE, Abhijit, all of you for giving this opportunity. We were all looking forward to the actual physical summit in March, but now that we have found other ways, I think this is as good, or if not better. We have 77 participants, which is, I think, quite remarkable. So thanks. And Sanjeev, to answer your question, I look at this whole pandemic exercise as something that, was inevitable, in the sense that regardless of now or maybe a year later or whenever, the whole idea of that, you have to have a remote way of doing things, whatever be the reason. It could have been some other catastrophe, but the world was gearing to a situation where things would get done remotely. So there were technologies in place already in the whole of 20th century of long distance calls, of transport, all of that. So humankind was kind of almost getting prepared, but this happened so suddenly that it has brought in almost things in 10-fold speed or 1,000-fold speed. Now, as a technologist, we should understand what are these basic disruptions that have happened and by which technology can fill in or help to mitigate the issue. So I tried to kind of take this puzzle and piece it and kind of fragment it into different categories of impairment. So the first category would be where information sharing has become difficult, retrieval, or just talking about things physically, right? So that has become difficult. Second thing is about decision making has become difficult because the human being is not there. Somebody on the field, somebody right at the spot is not able to make a decision. The third category is about where people actually had to move, let's say to experience certain things, tourism, hospitality, these kind of businesses. And the third and the fourth category is, of course, a little more nuanced, is in terms of, let's say, where you have an emotional involvement. You need a caregiver to take care of an elderly person, or you need somebody a teacher to pat a student at the back. Now, of course, the fourth category is very difficult to fill up with technology. It's very, very human. But I think we have made enough progress in the last few years to see that if some amount of technology can fill in for the top three kind of impairments. So that is one aspect. Then talking of Northeast, Northeast is distinctive, it's unique, its issues are very regional in the sense that although you may have almost global kind of issues even in Northeast, but because of the way the society is, because of its access, because of its culture, and also the place in the technology curve, things become more unique. So I looked at which would be the key areas where this disruption would be immense, and opportunities would also come out in equal measure. Then also I looked at a few technologies which possibly could mitigate these kind of issues, these impairments that I'm talking about. So I tried to put this in a kind of a framework. If I can just share it in one slide, then we can talk about it. I'll just...
yes, please, please.
Yeah, I just tried to share this. There's a way, I guess, to do it. Yeah, share screen. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
Okay, so I picked a few industries. Of course, this list is nowhere exhaustive. And I just looked at what would be the key challenges and opportunity. Challenges and opportunity are essentially two sides of the same coin, especially when we look at solving those challenges. So agri-tech, the larger part of agri-tech, fisheries, livestock, all of that. Then you have, in at least Northeast, handloom, handicraft are major employment seekers and generators. So I think that is one area that we need to look at. Tourism, which is growing big in Northeast of late, the hospitality industry. And then I was talking about these situations where you have people who look at, they have to be physically present to do a repair, to do an installation, these kind of things. Now, are there opportunities in all of these areas? And maybe if we sit and brainstorm, we'll find definitely 5 more. And how the new technologies that you just mentioned in terms of, which I would call data intelligence, that includes machine learning, big data, video analytics, all of that. And there is this hardware element, which I believe in the Northeast, at least my understanding is that I don't think we should get into hardware so much because it's got longer gestation. There's a capex issue, talent, all of that, land. I think we could stay more on systems and software and not go into so much of hardware right now. But still, integrating sensors, low power wireless, all of that. And I think there's another area which we should look at very, very significantly, is in the area of how we interact, the whole user experience. And Northeast especially, I think I see a lot of talent in that area. Multimodal experiences, virtual reality, augmented reality. Now the whole idea of getting touchless, now that's becoming a new thing. So I believe that these kind of technologies, when applied to the problems that I talked about on the very left, the impairment, and then we put this context of these different industries and domains, I believe we can have very, very, I would say, pointed solutions. One thing about technology and startups, especially when we're with a large number of startups here, we can't solve all problems. So we have to pick our battles correctly. And to pick the battle correctly, I think it's important to understand the context and the actual use case that we're trying to solve. And I think if we can solve one problem at a time and then collaborate together, I think many of these problems can be very quickly overcome.
Okay. Now, I can see that you have got a, experience into R&D sector also. You have worked with major giants like Samsung and all into R&D sector. How difficult and how easy it would be for a new startup to actually venture out into any kind of these new technologies like machine learning or big data? Because what I can understand from my experience, that the technologies like machine learning or big data or any kind of video analytics and all, these requires a high capital investment. At the same time, the existing players, whosoever is manufacturing maybe a security camera, he will by itself build itself, inside a AI piece of work, so that it becomes more smart and intelligent. And all the other manufacturers who are already into a kind of a hardware manufacturing, they are making their own devices, smart devices. So where a new startup fits into this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I actually disagree with all that you said. Okay, largely because in the last 3-4 years, it has become, high tech has suddenly become very democratic and much more accessible. In fact, if you look at, let's pick one area, data and artificial intelligence. the amount of open source code that is available, the amount of the tools that are available, the ability to store things on cloud at much cheaper rates ever. Okay, you don't need you don't need to buy machines. You can rent, so you can convert capex to opex. Almost all of high tech can be now done on opex rather than capex, right? So I can go piece by piece. For example, even training on most of these areas is now available almost cheap or almost at nothing, right? So it is very easy for even college kids today to get in to these kind of areas, which was unthinkable a few years back. The kind of tool sets that the big companies are providing, Intel, NVIDIA, whoever, IBM, Google, these are freely accessible, and the amount of volume that these are creating and the amount of innovation that's happening is amazing. You talked about video analytics. Most of now models in video analytics is available from universities, right? And these are free. So we have to understand what we want to do, and by very, very minimal hardware, at a Raspberry Pi, you can do so many things, right? The question was very, very valid, let's say 3-4 years back. Even now, in some areas, let's say if you want to do some semiconductors or some other, large systems, yes, it is expensive, there's capex. But for these areas, the areas that I have listed, and I have chosen them carefully because in our context, we can do them at a very low cost. Data intelligence, even IoT, sensors are very cheap. Even if you have to, just integrate them together, it's much easily available. Of course, UI, UX doesn't cost. So these days, even to do apps, so many things are available. So, and rightfully, even the youth, as I would say, in the technology arena, straight from school, college, and then the younger startups, they're using this very, very effectively. So, in fact, it's the big companies that need to worry because they are getting completely disrupted and they are moving very slowly, whereas the startups are moving much faster.
One more question. I mean, basically, it's you can say sub question of what I asked earlier. Can you suggest a use case for Northeast? I mean, see, it's a big market. I understand the entire world is looking at new technologies like IoT and all. IoT, ML, deep learning, big data, okay, meta programming, robotics, everything. But where to start? How to start? Where to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
can you suggest some use cases for Northeast? Yes, this is a very informative slide. I can see. Yes,
yeah, I picked a few technology drivers. I mean, this is my second slide, and I have only 2 slides. Is about technology drivers for the Northeast. Again, I picked them with some care, knowing what is most likely doable in the context of the population that we have. I'll pick one because I don't want to waste time talking about all of these, and we need to get into much more detail. So, so one issue, and I've been talking to some friends who are trying to solve this problem as we speak today, is about understanding fruits and vegetables as they come out of the farms, right? So earlier you used to have experts, people figuring out, oh, this fruit is ripe, this is how it will go all the way to the market. Its pricing was decided, the logistics was decided, and that required a lot of human intervention. Now the question is, with the current pandemic issues, can this be replaced by technology? So if you look at a lot of advances that's happening in what is called hyperspectral imaging, where you can take this is a technology that has been taken from remote sensing, but now being used big time. So you can take a fruit, you can take a mango, take a hyperspectral image of that, and do a lot of analysis to figure out when it's, what kind of pesticide it has, what kind of freshness it has, how long it will take to ripe, and all of that. So a lot of things like even pricing decision and the logistics that it has to go through, all the way from, let's say, a place in next to Itanagar, all the way to Mumbai, how all of this can be done. I think there are technologies available. We have to apply them in the right place, the right price point, and integrate them. It's not just doing that, imaging. You have to integrate it all the way to the supply chain and with the application. So That's one example. The other example we talked about is in terms of virtual reality. There's a lot of requests now in terms of the teachers are not able to actually reach students, especially in skill development, whether we can use virtual reality to help skill development. And I think there's enough talent in the Northeast to build good virtual reality models, good content, regional content in languages of our own, and which can help skill development. Another small example I'll give is in terms of, I just talked about that, suppose a person needs to come to overhaul a bore well, or somebody needs to come and install your washing machine. Now these people are not available, they cannot come physically. Now, can we have technologies by which these things are enabled much easily, so that you have the farmer just looks in his phone, many of them have smartphones now, and do things which he wanted a person to come over. So I believe that a lot of things where physical movement of human beings were involved can be solved with some of these technologies.
So I would like Das sir to actually give, because I can see that Das sir has got a lot of experience. He has worked closely and mentored so many, more than I believe 400 entrepreneurs, not only in the region, but in Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, as well as in Kolkata. Sir, I would like to ask you, how these technologies, as because I heard that there are some COEs coming up from the STPI side, and more or less these technologies, there are 8 COEs which are coming up. More or less these technologies are being set up as center of excellence. So I request Das sir to actually give his perspective on the current situation, as well as how STPI can help the budding technopreneurs to take advantage of STPI schemes, and what are these COEs?
Thank you, Sanjeev. Ochintya has already put a very nice roadmap in terms of technology and in terms of prospects, domains where we need to focus. And in fact, our blueprint about various center of excellences are in the same direction. Most of these things have been taken into consideration, and we are attempting to put the center of excellences in specific domains which are very relevant to the Northeast. We are not thinking about a global solution maker from Northeast immediately. We expect them to graduate from the local needs. If they can come up with some kind of a product development or service development, which has immediate captive market in the locality, and then they graduate from there to the national or global perspective. That route we are trying to adopt. And that's why we are keeping the COEs very focused to our needs of the Northeast. To name them, we will be putting up the Center of Excellence for IoT application in Agri-Tech, Agri and all allied sectors, which can include even fisheries, forest, or all needs. And then we will be putting up as spectral imaging and other issues are coming into the picture. We are talking about putting up GIS focused and then drone focused COE. Then AR VR, one of the COEs will be focusing on AR VR solutions. Then gamification is another focus area where we are trying to do in gaming area. Then some common things that we always need in any kind of solutions like animation and VFX kind of solutions. Even simple graphic designing will be having a big focus. and then data analytics, where big data or anything like that can be looked into. So we, in order to identify these teams, actually we had done a very extensive survey consultation with all the IT fraternity as much as possible throughout the Northeast. And we also had engaged CII for doing a survey for us. And on the basis of these inputs, we had identified the specific teams. Then after that, even before finalizing our blueprint, we had sought for problem statements from different people from different regions. And very interestingly, 100+ problem statements were thrown to us, focusing in these particular areas. Some other very interesting problem statements coming up from the local entrepreneurs. I would cite 2-3 of them. Say for IoT application, the people were thinking about using IoT for tea sector. And for that matter, we had already taken up the matter with the tea board, and they are now a partner in this project. So how best tea quality, tea transportation, tree monitoring, all these things can be done by application of IoT devices. Similarly, people were even talking about trying to protect the flora and fauna of the region, like rhino poaching. Can we do something for rhino, stopping that by using IoT? Guys are thinking in that direction. Then AR, VR in a big way. Many of the solutions people wanted to do is to accentuate the tourism, enhance the feeling of the people. Somebody in Loktak Lake in Imphal was dreaming of a tourism venture where all the year you don't get the migratory birds, all kind of migratory birds. So, but you cannot sometime tune your visit to that particular season, but you are in Loktak. So if you are in Loktak with that ambience, how would you feel if you visit in December? Or how would you feel if you visit in June?
Okay.
I mean, once you are in Loktak,
yeah,
probably
you can virtually be there.
You can have the feel of the whole year.
Okay, great.
And then some historical locations, while you visit places like Rangar, Karengar, or even anything like that throughout the Northeast, how the histories that we know, how you can have a very visual and audio feeling about it with augmented realities and things like that. Similarly, for gaming, interestingly, from some problem statements were generated by some entrepreneur groups in Mizoram, in Aizawl, where they were talking about training the nurses in their paramedics, because they felt that they are doing very good in these healthcare services, providing nurses throughout the world, but their nurses disqualified in the paramedic part, although theoretical training is very good and their manners, behaviors, etiquettes, and the basic the characteristics are all there. They cannot train these nurses to the required extent in paramedics. So they are thinking of making a game through which they will do all these trials of working in a hospital.
Okay.
So very interesting things. So this is COE is one thing that we are promoting. We will be rolling out now. But we have already announced another scheme, which we are calling Next Generation Incubation Scheme, NGIS. And the first round of submissions, I'm sorry to say that it is very short time because of the very short time. 15th, probably that submissions will have to be done, but we are, because of the ministry's pressure, they want to immediately get some of them into the on board, but we probably will be able to do a second or third round of that. So NGIS has no barrier as such. Any ITES projects can come into any year when it is innovative. So any software development can also come in.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And the third thing that we have already announced and we have circulated through our mails and other communications to the IT units, but for a greater audience, I am sharing here is kind of a tie-up we have done with the Science and Technology Ministry, where patenting and IPR support will be fully given on anything. Apart from these components are always there in other schemes as well, but it will be a full-fledged support, right from guidance and mentoring and things like that for IPR and patenting. And the fourth one, which has been there for quite some time, is the BPO promotion scheme. In BPO promotion, a lot of things which you call BPO or even to the extent of KPO are being supported. So it is still continuing in Northeast, and we are still looking forward to more and more participation from local entrepreneurs to set up these service providing units. So these are the things. If I may continue for 1 or 2 minutes, Sanjeev?
Yeah, please, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. In that case, since we are trying to figure out the focus, areas of focus for the Northeast, and how to convert the challenges into opportunity, that being the main theme of the discussion today, technopreneurship. So basically, technopreneurship has to come through a use of a technology. Correct. To an extent. And then the other things we need to look into is how we can, our entrepreneurs and startups can create some required muscles apart from their brains. Because mostly I have seen throughout the years that they fail in some other qualities rather than their intellectual ability to come up with a solution.
Right.
They do identify a problem, they come up with a developed solution, which is probably even marketable. They sometimes can generate a linkage, sometimes they fail. But the point here is not these. Ultimate failure comes in not having certain very small qualities of the entrepreneurs of the Northeast particularly. One of the things is the creation of the discipline. Discipline not only in terms of financial discipline among themselves, but even day-to-day life, we hardly take it as the ultimate of our life. I mean, but I have seen entrepreneurs in other parts of the country who has succeeded. For them, it's just a love affair. I mean, they can give up anything for that. It's like startups. I have seen startups are like having a relationship with your fiancé, and the entrepreneurs later on are having a life with your wife. I mean, you cannot compromise certain things while you are in a startup mode or an entrepreneur mode. And those have to be 100% followed. So those skills, abilities to sustain is very important, which I am not going to analyze in detail here because that's not the topic. But we definitely need to very seriously talk and discuss and find out what are actual weaknesses of the Northeastern entrepreneurs, not technology, not funding, not mentoring even, but something else that we have to find out.
Thank you so much, sir. And with this question which you have raised, it's a very valid thing you have raised, that we are not lack of technology, we are not lack of finances, we are not lack of support. I can say that in the year 2001 to when we started, we were having a lot of deficiencies. But today the ecosystem has come up very well. Everybody is talking about startups, and now people are also entrepreneurship is now being enjoyed. They are glorifying, organizations are there who are glorifying the entrepreneurship and startups. Now people are enjoying. They are getting they are participating into the ecosystem and building new things. Even parents and all who were actually earlier having a different mindset, they were thinking that employment, I mean, getting a government job is more important than having own business. The mindset has totally changed. So I would like to
Sanjay,
ask a question.
Sanjeev, just a second, not even half a second. I like Prabir's comparison of a startup with a fiancé. I think he really he nailed this one on the head.
Exactly, sir.
That's critical. I think we all need to understand. Yes, the fiancé can be picky, the fiancé, absolutely. I think that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah,
Yes.
please go ahead. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I want Mr. Joydeep, actually, who is already serving as a board member to many startups. So I want his opinion and his take on the thing which Das sir has pointed out, that Northeastern entrepreneurs need to be disciplined. And what is your take on that, Mr. Joydeep Roy Choudhury? Please.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me here. And a nice question. The thing is, I've seen the world, in Bangalore as well as outside India, and then even in Guwahati, as we have been operational in Guwahati for the last 10 years, and almost every other month I've been traveling. So I can see some, the thing is, most importantly, I guess, the execution speed. That is what, I have been finding different in the Northeast. Because, the world is going at a frenetic pace. I guess a little bit of lahe lahe influence is there. And that causes a lot of distress at times. I mean, I too get panicky at times with my team.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead. So the thing is, we at Bangalore, I mean, we have been having this unit for last 15 years. A lot of people come in here, they behave differently here. But as soon as they go back, I mean, you see it with Indians too. When they go in US and live there, they behave differently. I guess that is the issue, and that carries even back when we go back home in the Northeast, and we get used to that. So maybe that is one observation that I have been having over the years. It is not in intellect. Definitely, there are a lot of smart guys, and we can see them flourishing around the world, and even in the southern Indian states. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but I feel maybe that is where we need to start looking at it.
Okay. So another one thing I can see from your profile is you have authored a lot of patents. Okay. I can see that in US and India you have a lot of patents. So do you think the R&D and innovation is something which is lacking in the Northeast? People are not very innovative, or they're not actually looking after to innovate a cycle actually. Okay. Do you think that is an important part which is keeping them behind the competition?
No, I don't think so, because when I have visited different parts of Assam over the years, I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of new stuff, a lot of Agri, and then there are a lot of things using, bamboo, all these Agri type of products. There are a lot of stuff that are there which can be very useful elsewhere. And in terms of innovation, What I have seen is with some of the companies, they have been trying to venture into embedded systems. There's been a big issue with getting devices, components, modules, and things like that, because it probably would take 15 days for them to get it shipped from other parts of the country. But being in Bangalore, it's just half a day's work for us. We just get it here. I think that also slows down, Northeast to a large extent, because availability of components, and especially for IoT and related areas, you need those devices, and you need to experiment quickly. And if it takes like 15 days, trip time, it is pretty hard. And for the entrepreneur, it can be really, devastating. So,
in fact,
in terms of,
please.
just trying to add to what he was discussing, that's exactly the move that we are doing now. How to facilitate these people who are actually capable and also doing, but they have some disadvantages, locational disadvantages, in terms of having a proper lab, in terms of having a proper studio, and in terms of having the right mentor get connected, not necessarily a local mentor. So those are the steps actually we are trying to take through these schemes.
Okay. So, Mr. Joydeep, thank you so much. I would like Mr. Pathak to get in now, and I can see that he has a startup, or you can say he has a company platform which is known as Vantage Circle, and which is a HR platform. So, seeing the current scenario, which has actually a big, everybody is fearing that there will be a big shuffle into the IT job market now, and there will be a downsizing of the profiles and portfolios. So since you are closely associated with a lot of employees into this market through your platform Vantage Circle, so what is your take on this? What do you suggest? What kind of change would happen to this industry, and what are the precautions startups should take before hiring any candidates at this particular period of time?
Sure, thank you, Sanjay. So yeah, I think that's a very good question. To be very honest, I think the premise is that as an IT industry or a digital industry, right, I think we are probably the least affected from this COVID-19 situation, right?
Okay.
Because as I can see for ourselves, right, our cost has actually gone down and productivity probably hasn't affected at all, to be very honest. So all our employees are working from home, which means our cost of running the operations like offices or whatever, they can be, reduced slightly, right? So I think as a digital industry, I don't think there will be major impact. In fact, it should improve actually, to be very honest. The whole industry should probably get better from this whole digitalization aspect of the every business, right? I mean, it's almost forced now that you have to use softwares like Slack or softwares like Facebook at Work or whatever, basically. So I think it is only going to get better from here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show you something very quickly because I don't have any slide, but I have been working in the SaaS industry for a very long time now. Prior to that, I worked in the e-commerce industry. So one thing is that e-commerce, I think it's probably a hard game to play now because in India right now, you have got Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, all these big players coming. So now, to compete with them, it's probably going to be slightly difficult, right? So I think there is now Facebook and Jio, which is coming. One thing is, of course, you can try to, if you have something to sell, you can probably try and put up a shop. But what I have seen practically is that none of the shops from Northeast, none of the e-commerce sites from Northeast has made it so far, right? In fact, from India itself, right, it's very few. The problem is in e-commerce, it's winner takes all, right? So very few can be the winner. That is the biggest problem. Now, so now how do you really get into this e-commerce industry then, right? So one thing that we can try and do is that if you cannot have your own, right, try and fit it to the system, try and be part of the system. So now the question is, how can it be part of Amazon? How can it be part of Flipkart? How can it be part of Myntra, right? So that e-commerce is going to be there. I mean, it's the industry that I think where commerce is going to be done. That is guaranteed. So now either you can compete with them or you can be part of them. So we as a business, even if we are in the SaaS business, we are actually part of that e-commerce ecosystem. I can tell you how, but beyond that, right, how can we be from the Northeast? How can we be actually part of the e-commerce ecosystem? I think one thing is that you can see that there is the seller concept, right? So I think a lot of entrepreneurs from Assam, they can basically become a seller, get things from China or whatever basically, and just sit here, just try to understand how this seller model works, and then try to be like that seller entrepreneur, right? There is lots of options there because anyone having an internet connection, they can become a seller. I think this has been probably explored a little bit already, but there are other ways. For example, there is another big area which is called affiliate marketing. Okay, so you can sit at your home and you can write a blog or whatever. There's lots of other ways, like you can review softwares. I can show you some of the tools. So that's another way, basically, you know, become an affiliate of the existing players, like Amazon, like Flipkart, like Myntra. So that's another, I think, another way. So I would say that rather than trying to compete, and even if you compete, because e-commerce business is very expensive. Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of the toughest now to set up an e-commerce shop, right? So I think if you're trying to set up something, right, you've got to have a very, very big bandwidth in terms of money, in terms of people, in terms of your, you know, you have to look at very long term. It's not the same time as Flipkart started. Again, I have read the book on Flipkart, how they started, how it worked. So you've got to be very lucky, I think, to become a Flipkart from India and from Northeast. It can be done. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it can be done, but it needs to have a lot of, I think, bandwidth in terms of everything. Mm-hmm. Second thing, what I have been doing is SaaS, software as a service. So I'm not sure everyone knows actually what is SaaS, software as a service. So just for the context, just to be clear, some of you, I'm sure you know, but just to be clear, there is two kinds of softwares, right? One is B2C, the other is B2B, right? So most of the people, we know what is B2C software, like for example, Facebook, you know, WhatsApp, Google, Amazon, these are all mostly B2C software, right? So as students or new entrepreneurs, you probably know a lot about B2C software, right? But what you don't know is, most of the people don't know is what is the B2B world. So it's a very interesting world, and it's probably as big or even bigger than the B2C world, right? It's basically the softwares that is used to help businesses to grow, right? So now, how do you really get into that market? Because I think from the Northeast, there is a huge possibility of doing this, okay? So if I have just 2 more minutes, I can show you something, how to go about it.
Please, please, please.
So I'll just share my screen here, because I think this is very interesting, and because I don't have any slides, but I just wanted to show it here. So can you see this screen where all the B2B softwares are actually listed? Okay, I mean, this is just a comparison site where you have got all the B2B softwares listed. Now, if you can see this, right, there is this number of different categories of B2B softwares. Okay, so you can just search in Google B2B software. What are different types of B2B software? How to get about it? So you will find lots of sites like this where these kind of softwares are listed. The thing is that we are into employee engagement. Okay, this is the area where we work. Yes. I can see there is 48 softwares there, right? So basically what we are doing, and by the way, we are number 1 in India right now. Okay, in India, not in the world. We are trying to be number 1 in the world, but I'm just saying that out of these probably 2,000 softwares, right? You can imagine we are just number 1 in one category, and out of 48, we are just one of them. Okay, so the idea is that anyone can get into any of this software area. Once you know little of the business, how it works, anyone can get into this. It's very easy actually, okay? Because we have done it, and we have done it from Guwahati. So now, how to get about it? So if I show you this link, right, you will see that we are listed here. Actually, this listing, we have done it just today, but doesn't matter. Now, the software, to create the software, right, it's not that difficult. I mean, everyone knows IT now. We are in India, right? Usually, we are very good in doing IT. Okay, that's software, the creation of the software part. In fact, my whole background is IT, so I mean, almost everyone knows how to create the software. That's not a problem. If you're talking about library management system, right? That is almost everyone does that as part of their college, I think, project or whatever. So that's the kind of software I'm talking about. Library management system, employee management system. Okay. So we are into one of those areas. We are into HR management, okay, but not the core HR. We are an advanced part of, very small, less number of people takes our software. So we are doing that right now. Now, if you see, right, these are softwares and we are probably somewhere here listed. Okay. But the question is, how do you basically, once the software is created, right, how do you market it? That is the most difficult part. Now, one of the ways is basically marketing. I mean, marketing, you have got 19 channels of marketing, right? There is a possibility is that you can market your product in 19 different ways. But the thing to understand is, what is the best way? What is the cheapest way you can do by sitting here in Northeast or in Guwahati, for example, right? What is the way? So, see, look at this. There are really, really nice ways to do it, like offline ads, search engine optimization, content, email marketing, hiring marketing, all these things, right? So you got to really pick up some of these channels and optimize it, okay? So what we did was the marketing, very interesting part is that we picked up the content marketing part. We found that from the Northeast, right, because we have really good writers here, okay? We found that this is by experimentation that happened. We found that we have got really good talent who can do SEO and also writing. So we took that part. So basically for me, coming from a technical background, it was easy to manage the software. But what was difficult was the marketing part. And we ended up doing lots of content marketing. And now, if you see, if you search for employee engagement, we are now #1 in India. Okay, again, this is India. So now if you can be in Google, right, for these softwares in #1, okay, so your job is almost done. Okay? Anyone will be able to find about you. And this is what is happening now. You can see our growth in the last 1 year only. From here, we have achieved here now. So right now in our site, as you can see here, we have got probably about 100 people right now visiting our site, just browsing our website. And all of this, I'm very proud to say that all of this is done from Guwahati. Okay? So this is the one that I wanted to say. So this is an area I think everyone can pick up from the Northeast, and I'm very happy to share if anyone wants to know the theories and the practicalities behind this, because as I said, we have been doing it for the last almost 6 years now in Guwahati. So, yeah, I think this can be done.
Very impressive. Thank you, Mr. Pathak. We are glad that a company like this exists in Guwahati, and it's an inspiration for many software companies who are actually good at technical part of it, but not at the marketing part of it. You rightly pointed out that the marketing is really important, and without marketing, actually driving a sales is really difficult. So I hope that many participants who are from the software industry has learned from it, and must have actually, you can say, gained a lot of insight, whatever screens you have shown right now, and they will prepare accordingly. Now, we will open up for question and answers. But before that, I would like to raise a small thing to all the participants, actually, whoever wants to answer, they can answer. As an entrepreneur myself, I have seen that first thing, actually, when you tell somebody that you are from Northeast, when somebody asks you that what you do, that we are into IT, we do this, that, and all. And when you tell that, okay, you are from Guwahati or Northeast, the first thing which comes in their mind is, okay. So I'm asking this to all the panel members. So do we have trust deficit just because we are from the Northeast? Do you think that that kind of a scenario is there in the ecosystem?
No, Sanjeev, there is valid reason for that, but the reason is not something that has emanated out of defects from in the Northeast. The reason is the customer would always like to work with a company who is in a hub, who is in a IT capital, IT hub kind of a situation, because there the whole ambience is different, and they get their peer group discussions, they get immediate support from another expert. So, and it is a proof that if you are sustaining in Bangalore, that is a proof for the customer that, well, they must be good, otherwise why they are sustaining in Bangalore. The third aspect is the customers on and off has to travel you and see what you are doing, have meetings, discussions, for which they would always prefer a location which is convenient to them. So these are certain factors for which a customer actually denies a solution from a remote area. And resultantly, that percolates down to the companies who are the service providers that, oh, okay, probably nothing has happened there or nothing is working there. So your guys are coming in Bangalore, they're working here, all kind of things like that. So there are different factors for which this mindset is created, but that never means that there are deficiencies. I was about to tell this, that the whole pandemic situation is not creating, like it is not creating any disadvantage for the IT. Similarly, it is not creating any disadvantage for the Northeast. Keep it in mind.
Okay.
Rather, Northeast is hugely benefited. It's a gainer out of the pandemic, because now there will be a leveling. The high hills and hillocks will be leveled down. Even if it is Bangalore or Delhi or Noida or Pune, a US customer is not visiting in any case.
Okay.
So he would say, how does it matter whether you are in Delhi or you are in Guwahati? Similarly, even your peer groups are not going to have an evening meeting in the restaurants and find out different innovative ideas. So the techies are also going to do their meetings through this kind of Zooms and others. So if it is that, why techie in Guwahati cannot have a peer group throughout the country or globally? No physical requirement, physical closeness is necessary. So these are certain factors which will be hugely coming in favor of Northeast. And that's why this is the right time for Northeast to do the attempt to position ourselves. And one aspect, one specific area, which again has a huge advantage, is tourism. Keeping fingers crossed that Assam remains green. Let Assam remain green. Influence the politicians, influence the society, influence everybody to keep it green. Even if it is not green, officially it should remain green, because you can hugely exploit these greenness post-COVID, because the tourism will happen only in green places. Correct. So that's why Northeast can be hugely benefited.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what Prabir just said, right? In terms of this mindset thing, if you look at historically, and I think the British East India Company is the greatest example of how global they could think. There was nothing remote, right? If they could go all the way to Digboy and set up a refinery, yes, so many 1,000 kilometers from London, so there was nothing remote. I think the concept of remote came only post-Indian independence. And so I think this pandemic is that leveler, right? Nothing is now remote anymore. Everybody is at the same distance, just one Zoom call or a telephone call away. So with this as the baseline, it's now for us to establish how we rise above that crowd, right? I think I also want to add on the other side, from my, I'm an Assamese myself. I have the same socio-cultural upbringing as all of us. We have a different view of, of life in a way, right? I think we have to change little, I won't say, disruptive, but I think we have to raise our bar higher. Okay. And that is one thing I have noticed across, if you talk to people in Israel, if you talk to people in Korea, and if you talk to people in our part of the world, our bar is not high up. If you have just moved from going in a city bus to an auto rickshaw, I think we believe that we have arrived. So unless we think that, we are world beaters, we can be the best in the world, only then we will strive to that level. We are too easily satisfied. And I don't know if it gives us peace or happiness or whatever, but definitely not helpful for entrepreneurship. So So we have to, I think, get over that hill. I think it's a big sociological issue that we have as an entire region. And that comes in the way of some of the things that we discussed.
Thank you so much. Now we will open up for question and answers. I would request all the participants to send their questions in the chat box so that it is organized, it is fully organized, and we can ask one by one to the our panelists. You can also mention the panelists whom you want to ask the question. So I have received a question which is basically Mr. Midat Kamil has asked, and he has a question that he's saying that there is a lack of structure and most importantly lack of funding for the budding entrepreneurs. So he's looking for guidance. Anybody, I mean, in the panelists would like to take this question?
I can take that. Definitely, apparently, visibly, there is very less funding for the budding entrepreneurs. Now, if you look at the scenario in the whole country, the seed funding in the country, in India, usually comes not from a formal and kind of a angel funding agency or an angel, like is it in Silicon Valley or other some European countries, but it comes from friends, families, and savings.
The fool's fund, basically.
Yeah. Now, if you prove proper utilization of the fund, what your uncle or friend or your savings allowed you to spend, next level, somebody will definitely come and give you more money. The problem of getting more fund lies in not being able to utilize whatever fund you have in the right way. So there is a chain reaction of that, because of which further fund doesn't come.
Correct, correct.
See, try to understand a funding agency is a business entity. An angel is a businessman. Any funding person is a business person. Why they will not put money if they see a scope of growing it? So they definitely will. Now, forgetting about that, on the government side, we always expect that government should do this. Now, during these days, you must be seeing that everybody is asking government should give me food, government should give me ride, government should give me that, this. So I am not working, you have to feed me. Yes. So, well, that has to be there certain times on to a certain extent. And on that, actually, a lot of initiatives are recently happening in terms of funding. All the schemes that we are talking about, I have been talking about, are coming with fund. Center of Excellence, Next Generation Incubation, all are coming with fund up to the extent of 25 lakhs for a startup. And that's not a small money for a startup in Northeast as such. And then if they prove within the gestation period that they are really progressing well, we take the responsibility of connecting them to bigger funds.
Correct, sir. Very nice. Sir, there are a few questions, which is, there is one question from Chinmoy Borpujari, who is asking, actually, she's a GIS analyst and she liked your talk. At the same time, she is asking for some example, GIS applications, as you mentioned, because she missed few and she joined a little bit late. So she was asking some GIS applications so that, as a guidance actually, so that she can venture into some startup.
Sanjeev, are you asking me?
Yeah, so she's asking this question to you.
Okay, yeah, I can tell her. See, some of the GIS applications, see, very unusually, we are putting up the Center of Excellence for GIS and drone applications in Itanagar. Can you imagine that? Itanagar.
Okay.
Because in the Northeast, The most important area where GIS and drone application is required is Itanagar. We have China border. We need vigilance continuously. We have a huge territory of resources in the north, whole of Arunachal Pradesh. We need to explore them. We need to utilize them, do proper supply chain management. And then we are tying up that project with a specific project. As of now, it's not finalized, but the problem statement has been given by Rajiv Gandhi University in Sibsagar, who are giving consultancy to Numaligarh Refinery Limited. Numaligarh Refinery Limited is coming up with a next project in terms of biofuels. Okay. And for the biofuels, the primary raw material is bamboo. Now, we cannot, like the typical Northeastern, we cannot be happy that biofuel refinery will continuously run for years and years because we have enough of bamboo. We need to know how much bamboo we have and how many years of supply it can give. And realistically, it is estimated that 3-4 years only. Then what you have to do? You have to do more bamboo plantation. You have to protect the existing bamboos. You have to expedite their growth. All kind of these activities will have to be done through proper GIS, proper drone use and things like that. So there are a lot of big applications.
There is one question from Shield Tech Private Limited. Basically, they are into cybersecurity and all, and it's a startup from Sikkim. So their question is, they're asking, there are two questions basically. One is, in the competitive market of cybersecurity, as a startup, what SaaS should we focus on that can serve the market sector in Northeast? And the second question is, should there be a specific body of cybersecurity combined workforce in Northeast? So, Mr. Pathak, can you answer?
I think I can answer the SaaS part. So, I think the number one thing to understand is that in the cyber world or the B2B business world, right, you should never focus on Northeast because that is the wrong way to do it. We don't have even a single customer in Northeast. There's not even a single customer in Northeast, entire Northeast. Our customers are only in India or rest of the world. Okay, and that is the market, to be very honest, right? So if you are creating a B2B business, right, or SaaS software, why do you only concentrate only on Northeast? That is not the way, because as I said, right, you are basically exposing yourself to the web, right? So you should really focus on how to be number one in Google or in some other channels, other marketing channels. It could be, presentations or whatever. So I think that's the way to do it. So it's not difficult, as I had shown you yourself. I mean, we have done it in the past. So I think we are trying to improve. So there is lots of ways to improve. And I think, so the world is the market, okay? You should focus for US. I think that's where the market is, right? That's where the biggest of the, and if you can be in the US, if you can win the market in US, then rest of the world, it's very easy. And I think the thing that is going to happen is also, as Asia is going to be more and more powerful, right? So I think Asian markets will also open. Every aspect, I think Northeast can be favorable because again here, right, you can find really good people who can market your product. And the other thing that I was thinking about is that if you are from Northeast, right, there is another advantage of being an entrepreneur or trying to be an entrepreneur, learning things is because right now, right, as I think Prabir and everyone has also said that it's leveling out, right? So there is no real advantage of you being in Bangalore or you being in Guwahati. But if you know the skills right now, if you start something and you learn the skills, right? So there's a high failure rate in entrepreneurship as well. So you can expect that there will be failures. It's not a rosy world. Entrepreneurship is not a rosy world. But the point is that if you start, you will learn a lot. You will learn a lot. And that can be very helpful once, because this working from home or working remotely, right? This is not going to go away. So right now, that restriction that you have to be in Bangalore or you have to be in Chennai or you have to be Hyderabad, that is almost gone now. Right? What is going to happen is, even if you are in Northeast or Guwahati or whatever, if you have the right skills, then you will get a great job. So that is guaranteed. So I think that is another advantage that we should look forward to. That I think this capacity building, that skill building, right? This is number one right now because it's leveling out. You don't need to be in Bangalore anymore, just to get a job or just to be started as someone has started. I mean, if you fail, right, there is an opportunity to get a job at least, right, in the skill, if you have the skill. I think that's another area to look at. This is a very important area.
Okay, I had another perspective to add on security.
Okay.
From what we had discussed earlier, be whatever technology, be GIS, be data intelligence, be IoT, even for the projects that we want to do in Northeast, there's going to be a lot of data generation. All the data has to be processed, analyzed. So the usual concerns of handling data will all be big and now even bigger. So if we have companies in Northeast who are specialized in security and privacy and data protection, I think they have an opportunity there itself. And they should look at all the other startups that are trying to get into the data space. If they can talk to each other and find out how a security company or startup specialized in security can help these other companies, for example, the GIS company or somebody who's into IoT, because you cannot now get into these businesses without making your data channels secure, without protecting your data, without having privacy issues sorted out. And so if there's a good cybersecurity company attending to these kind of issues in Northeast itself, I think there is a local opportunity to start with.
So there is
fully agree on that.
Yeah.
I just want to strengthen what Ochintya has said. We very badly will need that enhancing our ability to handle the security aspect, because all our solutions that we are talking about, that we are trying to promote, will need a security angle. And for that purpose, actually, we are keeping one of the COE as focusing on analytics, where that security part should also come in. So it's very, very necessary, and we will have a lot of scope, I believe.
Yeah, in fact, I added that in my slide. Blockchain, some amount of penetration testing, and these kind of other ethical hacking, these kind of areas. If any of the attendees today are in that space, I think it's a big business, and you should leverage that.
Okay. There are a few questions on IoT, so I would like to ask Mr. Sharma only on that. So one question somebody has asked is Jitumani Bhagavati. Actually, Jitumani Bhagavati has asked that what are the scope of IoT in agriculture sector? Can modern agriculture technology helpful in Northeast state? And there is another follow-up question from Aeroshil Neira Kampapam. This is for this thing. She's saying this is for Sir Ochintya Sharma. Hardware startups have always been given a low priority in Indian startup scenario, but many research have shown the cost of acquiring customer is far less for hardware startups compared to software, and investors are slowly realizing that. So why can't we as Northeast startups try for hardware startup? Cause at the end, mass production is going to happen in China until India becomes manufacturing hub. So first one is okay, IoT in agriculture sector. This Das sir can also answer. You can also answer. The second one is for you. He's saying that hardware startup have always been given low priority. So what is?
I think I addressed that earlier. Yeah, I mean, we should do hardware. There's no doubt about it. Strategically as a country, we have a lot of other plans, right? But let us also be a little pragmatic, and especially in the context of Northeast and today. I don't know, 3 years from now what will happen, 5 years from now what will happen. But if I have to do a startup, I would rather do it in software and systems rather than in hardware. And multiple reasons. One, do I have enough deep pockets? I need that in hardware. I need enough land and machinery and all kinds of other clean rooms. God knows what else we need. I don't think we have the wherewithal right now. Maybe we have to wait for some government-initiated some amount of incubation in that area and then leverage that. But just for somebody still looking at angel and Series A funding to get into hardware, I think it's not pragmatic. Okay, it's not that we shouldn't do it. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's just we have to look at the practicality of starting hardware. And again, hardware itself has a range of things. Assembly of boards is different from doing some ASIC design. So in hardware, there are other parts, like there's a software part of hardware, which we could look at getting into. There are things in system software that we can get in. So which doesn't require still OPEX, right? Sorry, CAPEX. So those are the kind of spaces that we may want to get in. So again, it's strategic. It needs to be done. It will give us the kind of employment opportunities that we want. But I don't know, in the current circumstances, we should get in. Okay, just my view of life. Coming to the IoT part, in agri-tech, I think we have been talking about some examples. I'll give you an example that I have, personally got involved some time back. Is there's a lot of rubber that's being grown around Tripura and that part of the world, and now most of it is manual. All the way from putting that small thing that cup kind of thing which collects the gum, and then collection of it, then drying and all of that. Now the rubber price is completely determined by the quality of that, how it's dried up in the sun. Now, if that can be improved by technology, you can get almost 3 times, 4 times the price of what we are getting today. So there are a range of technologies that can be employed just in this small example that I gave. Then if you pick tea, other cash crops, horticulture, there is a lot of fruit production now in Arunachal. So all of these things require sensing. You need to know the pH content of the soil, humidity, temperature, all of that. And technologies exist with IoT sensors, which are pretty cheap. But only thing we need to do is understand the domain well. So we have to work with agri-scientists. It's not a technology problem as much as understanding agriculture. And a solid collaboration between the technology guys and the agri-scientists is required to give a real solution which is meaningful both to the consumer and the producer.
Okay, thank you so much. We are actually running out of time. So
can I add just a line to what Ochintya has said?
Yeah, sir. Please, you can finish. Yeah.
Just to remove some confusion among the entrepreneurs, when you talk about hardware solution, try to understand that none of the companies in the world has come up with hardware only. They have come up with a hardware when they have some software to put in the hardware. That's why they have designed their own hardware accordingly. It's not that somebody will be just selling the steel and the fiber and the things like that, and somebody else will put their software on it. So first think about the software solution and put it in the hardware. That way, if you can go for hardware manufacturing, it's fantastic. Second thing is, take hardwares from others, if it is available in the proper configuration, and use it for a project where your software needs that kind of a hardware. So that way, hardware is integrated. It has to be a hybrid solution.
Correct. So I am really glad that I'm part of this wonderful webinar. And just because we don't have much time left and we are running out of time, we could not take few more questions were there, but we could not take it. I'm so sorry for that. I thank all the participants for being with us. We started with a discussion which said that there are challenges and there are opportunities after this COVID-19. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of participants are there who are really, they are in a confusion state that what will happen next. Especially few participants that we have seen that they are from the tourism industry, and they are seeing that there is a very hard time which is coming. But at the same time, the people who are into IT and ITES, I can see that from your discussions, from the panelists' view, that it is not that hard. And I agree, this IT and ITES sector will survive without any difficulties. We have a lot of opportunities coming in. We have technologies like IoT, technologies like AR, VR, technologies like gamification, data analytics, and lot more, where there is a scope for new gen startups to venture in. We need not to set up a big, huge capacity. We need not to invest a lot of money into it. There are a lot of open source piece of hardware and software available, which can be integrated together, and softwares can be created, products can be created and marketed. One challenge which was highlighted was lack of discipline among the entrepreneurs of Northeast. And Das sir has really put a wonderful insight into it, along with Mr. Joydeep Roy Choudhury. I thank him also. He has also given a good suggestion that the people, we should actually look into the R&D part of it. At the same time, he appreciated that there are other sectors where the R&D is happening, but it is not being highlighted that way. It's not only IT where the R&D is happening. A lot of other areas like agriculture or bamboo and all, where innovation is there in the Northeast. Okay. I thank Mr. Pathak also for highlighting the need of marketing. Actually, I mean, development is one part of it, and marketing is the most important part of any development, because you have a piece of software developed, but if you do not market it, how you will actually earn the revenue, how you'll run the business after all, because business is all about your balance sheet. Because like in schools, your mark sheet, similarly in business, your balance sheet tells about how good you are doing. Okay, so it's all about revenue. If you're earning revenue, only development will not help. You need to market it well so that you can reach your targeted goals. I thank Sriparna ma'am and the team IIE for organizing and putting up all panelists together. I think uh, this is very interesting session we had, and we could not actually uh, I mean, make out that the time flight very fast. Actually, we are already 20 minutes past the fixed deadline, and I mean, I'm really happy. And at last, I will thank Abhijit Sharma sir for his leadership and all the initiative he is doing for the NERS. I thank everyone, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Just before we close, just half a second for everyone. I know we have short time, and that's how I think everyone it is all the time. But just element of which I think I would like to just pick up from what Ochintya had said, and coming from the background of humanities, very far away from technology and social sciences. One element that strikes my mind, and this is for the young people who are there out there, is that we have this area is green, and we have agro related, I would call, products. We also have a lot of histories. This is a very varied state, and a lot of tales which are there in these histories of regions. Can we provide or showcase these to the outer world? That is something that always comes to my mind. I think there was something of talk of augmented reality, which Prabir spoke about, and I think Ochintya also spoke about. That is something I think would be fascinating if we can use this. I think, taking the word from the mouth of our Prime Minister, that be local, let's focus on local, and show to the world how we could be, we have something unique for the region. I think that's something we need to keep in mind as we go forward. But thanks a lot. I think immense learning for myself personally, and I'm sure for all the participants who have been there. Only for Sanjeev Sharma, I think there have been some chats which have come up. Maybe we will get back to you, or some of these probably has not been answered, but we'll get back to you later on that. Some chats which was there, I think still left unanswered. But yes, thanks a lot for being part of this. I think we thank you immensely for taking your time out. Panelists and all the others, thank you very much.